Yeah, this feels better to me. This feels much better to me. Who has this many tiers in a tier list this video? Like, that's crazy. I'm sorry, guys. But you know what? I got opinions, and that's what you're here to listen to. Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's Atticite TCG here, and I'm coming at you with a tier list video today. It's going to be for the OP08 meta, and it's going to be pre-starter decks, and so the list will change once the starter deck does come out because there's a ton of new support for a lot of cards and a lot of colors. And so, yeah, I'm excited for that portion of our meta, but for now, this list will just be for the OP08 meta without the starters. And so, with that being said, another, I guess, disclaimer, these are just my opinions from my own testing and my own experience. If there's leaders that I place in tiers that you don't agree with, I would love to hear you out and have a discussion too. But yeah, again, these are just my opinions, and my opinions are always open to change too. And so you could probably convince me if you have a strong enough case. And so would love to have a discussion. I think that's one of the cool things about, you know, One Piece, right? We saw that in 07 meta where like starter 14 Luffy was really low on a bunch of people's tier lists. But then, you know, in the NA or in the EU Nationals, that deck slapped. And so, yeah, I think that's a cool part about being part of this card game is there's so many leaders, so many like card supports out there. There's just underexplored metas that can constantly shift and change, right? And so, with that being said, though, let's go over the tier list. And so, tier 1. Tier 1 is going to be like the meta-defining decks, right? So the ones that will be the boogeyman or define or almost gatekeep the rest of the decks. And so usually it's going to be one or two decks, but that's kind of what tier 1 will be. 1.5 would be things that you wouldn't be surprised seeing in the top 8, top 16, where we expect them to place pretty well in large tournaments, and we wouldn't be that surprised if, you know, one of these decks actually managed to take the whole event. Tier 2, I more define as like top 32, top 64, where you would probably, it could maybe sneak one into a top 8 if you had a great day, but yeah, these are the decks that probably have a pretty good, consistent matchup across a lot of decks, but maybe weak into one deck that's pretty well represented. Tier 3, kind of similar to that, but maybe these are more like the rogue style decks where I think that there could be more exploration. I would love to see one of these or two of these be top 64 or maybe even top 32. And so kind of like a tier below 2, obviously, but more like rogue style decks. And so top 3 are like more like, I think we'll see them consistently in, you know, topping the events, either, you know, spots 1 through 32, 1 through 64. And this one is like, oh, maybe there's a one of that gets into like that top tiers. And so, and then Atticite Copium. It's a new tier. It's basically the leaders that I will forever cope on and forever try to make work. And I am too stubborn to say that they are, there's nothing there, right? And so there's going to be a few leaders that go in here, but the rest would be, you know, locals. I started to put some of them in here to speed up the video. The video would be so long if I didn't. And so I apologize if one of your leaders that you like is in here. If you don't think it should be in there, hit me up with the deck list and the concept, and I'm so willing to try. With that being said, let's get into the video. So we're just going to go through. I'm going to try to go through kind of quickly, but I do talk a lot, so I apologize for that. But OP01 Zoro, or Zuro, as many people are calling it, this is the deck that I'll be maining for OP08, at least for the beginning of it. And so this deck is really strong in my opinion. It solves one of Zoro's issues, which was Zoro was always able to go wide relatively quickly, but this is like going wide quickly on steroids, right? Because you have the 08 chopper that summons on play and when attacking, and you have an event that will cheat out a body for you too. And sometimes that body can cheat out another body from hand. So like you can just get like 3-4 bodies in like one turn, and so it's insane. But the other issue that it solves is that it plays from your deck, and so you're not negating or negging your hand size to get some of these bodies out. And each body that's played out is another one that your opponent has to deal with. And then, so by the time like they deal with your board, you're at full life and you're ready to start dropping like dragons and your kid killers, and this just gets really crazy. And so I do think this deck is really strong. It does have a lot of skill expression, how you search, when you search. Yeah, like you're searching so much in this deck that you will go through your whole deck every game pretty much. And so yeah, there's a lot of skill expression that comes when you start stacking your deck, right? And so, or thinning your deck out too. And so very fun deck. I am still learning the ins and outs, but I'm going to put it at 1.5. I don't think it's a tier 1 deck, but I do think it's a contender to start taking some top spots. Red Green Law, it does get some interesting support, right? Like, and so it could also run the chopper engine that Zoro runs just to flood the board from the deck and then start using leader ability. I'm gonna put it at it's either 2 or 3, probably bottom of 2, top of 3, honestly. But I'm also gonna start reordering the top 3 tiers or top 4 tiers in order of what I think is strongest to weakest. And so for now, I'll put it in tier 2. It may shift as far as where in the tier 2 it is. Blue Dofi, he will be one of the best decks in format once 8.5 comes out. But this iteration, just at the beginning of 8, I think he's just a tier 2 deck. You can argue maybe bottom of 1.5. He may go up, but definitely top of tier 2. And still is able to go wide, still is strong. But I think the true support's going to come with 8.5. This deck just gets like hella quick, hella like crazy. And so Blurple Kaido, I meant to put it in locals. I'm sorry, that was a bait. I don't know how I got here. But Whitebeard, it feels bad calling him a rogue, but it's kind of like a rogue deck right now for sure. I think Whitebeard will always be one of the decks that people try to make work. But I do think it's gonna be like top of rogue. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw it in like a top 32, top 64, but I don't think it's gonna get there consistently this format. I could be wrong. Please let me know if there's like a dope Whitebeard deck that someone doesn't know about. But yeah. Anyway, Z. I think Z. There's been so much purple and black support. I want someone to test and make Z work because I think he's like a better king, honestly. Maybe not. I don't know. But there has to be some combination of cards that make this that kind of work into the meta, because he was always kind of on the cusp even before black and purple got all the support. The meta did slow down somewhat as well, and so I think there's a Z deck out there that can probably work. Arlaw, I'm gonna say keep it at locals. I was kind of debating whether to put it in like tier 3, but I think just keep it locals for now. I haven't seen anyone or seen a deck that did super well, and I've tested Arlon quite a bit too, at least towards the end of 7, beginning of 8, and it just felt like a little lackluster, and so yeah, I'll put him there. I'm also going to put Ace and keep it locals for now. There may exist a world where he bumps up with the 8.5, but for now, I still also think that he's a little strugs. Nami, I'm gonna reorder these guys. So actually, I'm gonna put we'll reorder these, but Nami, I'm gonna put 1.5. Nami's strong. I think that there's A lot of slower decks for sure now. And so, and Nami is just one of those decks that will thrive in a slower meta, right? And so, we've seen her doing well at the end of 7. I expect her to still do well at the beginning of 8. Maybe that shifts during 8.5, but for now, we'll put her here, maybe arguably higher than Zoro, but Zoro does wash Nami. Like, I don't see how Nami ever wins against Zoro, like, unless Zoro really low rolls, right? And so, yeah, it just goes so wide, so fast, has so many attacks. It's just, Nami will have no hand by, like turn 2. Katakuri, probably 3. Tier 3 for sure. Maybe he's above Newgate. Yellow does keep getting more and more support, right? There's a lot of different ways you can build out a Katakuri deck right now, but definitely after 8.5, this deck will jump up a tier or 2, depending on how the meta shapes out. But for now, I think he's just a solid tier 3 leader. Still very much Casino Curry at this point. You can high roll your opponents. Very good deck for entry. I think it's like new player friendly. And so, but yeah, we'll put him at tier 3. Purple, yellow, Croc. Lakers Croc. I'm going to put him at keep him at locals. I think with the existence of pudding, like purple, yellow, Croc does just kind of fold, right? Because they're going to be established in their top end much quicker than you are, and then that deck just runs so much top end too. I think eventually you'll just out trade the purple yellow Croc. Yeah, and then I think you just lose to Lucci as well, or a good Lucci player, which will, spoiler alert, will be a really high contender. And so yeah, I'm gonna put them at locals. Red Black Sabo is one of my Copium decks. This leader, it's like, oh man, like red and black's such a weird combination, but the leader effect is so good, You give it one Dawn, and now your board that's, 5k power above can't be KO'd by effects is just like, oh, so good. And so, I'm going to put him in Copium. I want someone to cook with this deck. Actually, both Sabos are kind of my Copium decks. I always try to test out some of it, but yeah, it's just, I think I get stuck with how many different engines there are that you can run with both red and black now. And so, you got the Straw Hat package, the Revolutionary package, Navy package for black. You got like some Dressrosa cards. And it's just like so many different options you can do with those colors. I'm hoping that there's a combination of someone cracks that we can just see this deck shine a little bit, but we'll see. But, honestly, like with Zoro in existence, if Zoro gets popular, he's going to gatekeep basically any 4-life leader that can stabilize against the super wide board. So, red, yellow, what's her name? Bella Betty. We'll put her at the bottom of 3. I think maybe there exists a deck list out there that she can kind of go fast. I think what's cool is like everyone's expecting a slow meta, and so these decks that go super fast can kind of be jarring for the meta. And so I do think that some people will catch other people by surprise with Bella Betty, but I very much think it's still tier 3 for now. Purple Luffy, I'm going to put the bottom of tier 2. He's another leader that really will get a huge power spike once 8.5 drops, but for now, he did get some support for sure. Like Purple got a lot of support, but I do think it's still just a tier 2 deck until he can get the 8.5 support. And now, How the Mighty Have Fallen. Am I cope if I put it in tier 3? Nah, I'll put it at the bottom of tier 2. Top of tier 3? I really don't think Anel's that good, guys. I could be eating my words, but I think Enel is just like, I think Enel takes wins from people that don't know how to play against Enel. You know, like people give the Enel player the win, but I think like if you know how to play into an Enel player, if you know when to swing, how to take resources out of their hands, force them to block, force them to, you know, I think like Enel will take the wins from the people that don't swing at all into the Enel player, right? Because then, you know, or swing the wrong patterns, right? And so those matchups Enel will just eat up. But honestly, aside from that, I think like don't get me wrong, there are great and finessing NL players. Like those people that can pilot the deck well, can pilot it super well, but I do think that it feels wrong to put him below Red Green Law. I think we put Red Green Law tier 3. Yeah, this seems better. But yeah, top of 3, bottom of 2. We'll put him in bottom of 2 for now. I may move him once I start sorting out the other decks. But yeah. Perona, I'm gonna put at tiers top of tier 3 for now. Hold on, I'm gonna reorder this a little bit. We'll reorder it once we finish the tiers. But yeah, Perona, great leader ability, really strong color combination, a lot of cool support, but I think it just loses to things like Zoro. It loses to things like what's the other deck that I was thinking of? Oh, Pudding. I think that you'll just have a hard time against some of these new late game decks. So I'm going to put it at the top of 3 for now. But the leader effect is really just generically pretty good. And so, I don't know. It's like one of those leaders that I think I wouldn't be surprised to see a top 64, but if it has like a good day where it misses like a bunch of its bad matchups, but we're going to put it there for now. Yamato's probably tier 3 still too. Almost at locals level. Arguably her ability is stronger than some of these other ones, but yeah, being a 4-life leader, green-yellow, we'll keep it there for now. Reiju, definitely a 1.5 in my opinion. Very strong deck, very consistent deck. I guess a lot more consistent if you see the stage, but I've just seen good Reiju players, even if they don't see the stage early, just being able to really buy their time or dig into drawing cards and just, you know, giving them the best shot to see and fix the inconsistencies from their draws. And so, very cool to see good Reiju players. I think it's going to be a deck to really contend with, for sure. The turn 2 Porish into Ichiji is probably one of the strongest turns in the game right now. And so, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And so, we have that. Moria, I think Moria does fall down a tier in 08. I think he won't see as much success as we saw him have in 07. In that he didn't really receive that much new support. I think that the Lucci matchup against Moria gets better with the introduction of Jack. I think it just gets harder for Moria, in my opinion. And so I'm going to put him at bottom of 2. We'll put him above Enel, though, because I think a Moria player can still beat an Enel. Bonnie's definitely top of 1.5. Really strong deck. With RP Law being out of the meta, too, this deck just gets even stronger. But, you know, the Lucci matchup, I think the Lucci matchup is actually a little bit harder for Bonnie now because of Jack. And they don't even need the stage, right? They can just ice. I think with the Lucci's running more Ice Ages and Finger Pistols, it, like, now that Law is not in the meta, it almost actually made their deck better against Bonnie, in my opinion. But that's just my thoughts as a ex-Bonnie player. But yeah, Bonnie got a lot of cool new support with the carrot. The carrot's so good in Bonnie. Like, oh my gosh. And so, yeah, we'll keep it there for now. Boa, you know, I like Boa better than Dofi in 08. before 8.5. Once 8.5 drops, obviously Dofi's much better, but in my opinion, I think Bolo's ability is so strong, and it's just generically good. And so I think it's going to be one of the leaders that will keep going in and out of the meta based off of kind of the support that Blue gets, because it's a generic and good effect, right? And so we'll do that. Foxy, locals. Lucci. Lucci is our first S tier deck. I think even with the Ennis Lobby ban, this deck still just slaps, right? But Cross AI said it really well, though. I think the thing deterring me from this deck is actually like the mirror. Like the mirror is going to be like whoever goes first, whoever drops the 7-drop jack on curve first, it's just such an advantage right now, right? Because with all the current iterations of the decks that we're seeing for Lucci, there's no real solid answer for a jack. You can like Ice Age, Tempest Kick, Finger Pistol, or like, but that's pretty neg, right? Because you're using 3 cards and not establishing any body, and then the Lucci player that summoned the jack can just drop a Moria or drop another jack, right? And so the tempo and the favor just shifts that way so quickly. And so I think Cross said it perfectly, where like the mirror is gonna be terrible. But aside from that, though, Lucci does have like a fair shot into all these matchups, even against Zoro. Man, like Zoro, he's so good at answering Zoro's board, right? Because like you'll go wide, even if you establish 5 bodies, like some of them are going to be rested, so he can swing with like a brand new, swing with his leader, and then establish a Lucci and KO 2 things. And like boom, he's dealt with 4 bodies on your board. You establish bodies again, but then by the time, like he'll willingly go down to like 1 life, but then by the time he summons Jack's always popping whatever's active on your board, and then once the Moria comes out, Rebecca plays out, Spandian into Lucci, KOing 2 things from your body. And then, yeah, it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And Rebecca can also always grab you a 2K2, so you're staying like healthy in your counters. So it is a rough matchup if the Lucci just like sees its normal stuff. I think Zoro has to kind of high roll into Lucci, so that's like my one hesitation of Zoro, but I'm still figuring out that matchup myself. I need more practice into it. But yeah, so this is definitely a really strong contender for setting the whole tone of the meta, and it's going to be the deck to beat, in my opinion. With that being said, Vegapunk. Vegapunk's tier 3. I think Vegapunk has something there, right? I think it needs to be cracked. I think we need to... Not cracked, but I think it'll catch a lot of people by surprise. I've played some really good Vegapunk players, and this deck is so annoying to play against. Like, I'd rather play against an Enel any day than play against a Vegapunk. Yeah, because he's just able to sustain way, like, so well. Because he's able to, like, play those cards that play out of trash, play cards, or put, like, stuff into his life that lets him, like, draw more cards. Like, it's just so annoying. But yeah, we'll put him there for now. 2020 Chopper. Oh man. So my boy Tristan's been running 2020 Chopper. It's actually not bad, like he's actually won quite a few games with it, and he's also a good player too. So that's why I'm not surprised that he made it work. But I do think it's just a straight up worse Zoro. It has a similar concept, but you get to play things like the 9-cost Zoro, Cody Jones. Yeah, and so... But I think, yeah, overall, it's pretty... I'm going to keep it at locals. Sorry, Tristan. Marco. Oh, man. So, Marco... I think right now, I love the Warlords iteration of the deck. This guy, David Ogburn, I did a video on it. It's feels really strong. It feels really good. But I do think it'll struggle against... It does struggle against Lucci. It does struggle a little bit against Bonnie. I think it can get washed by Zoro too, and so I think it's just not his time yet, you know. But I'm gonna put it in my Copium, because this leader effect is so good. But you know what it is? So people read this leader and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like it's the next Sakazuki." But I was thinking about, why is Marco not as like popping off as Sakazuki? Is it just like we didn't figure out the right deck list or blah blah blah? I think Sakazuki just had a much better supporting cast, right? He had a broken leader ability, but he also had Moria. He also had like the Rebecca in set 5 and then Moria in set 6. And so like those cards with the broken leader ability is what enabled Sakazuki to really pop off and be so consistent, right? More like Marco, you're drawing and seeing a lot of your cards, but I don't think anything in red or blue is that busted where if we draw into it, we can start to like high roll like crazy, you know, like. And so I'm gonna put him in my Copium though, because I do like this deck a lot. Carrot, Carrot's so fun. Like it's such a fun deck to play. I think that it's quite strong too. But with Bonnie existing in the meta, it's just not going to be the top tier green. And so I'm going to put it in tier 3. I think it is a strong deck though. And I think you can get a lot of wins with it. But the Minx package is just arguably not as good as the Supernovas package. And Bonnie can take advantage of the best card from the Minx anyway, which is the Carrot. And so, yeah, I think it's a tier 3 leader. King, dude. So some people have been like saying there's King decks that can be good. Bro, I haven't seen it. In all my testing, King has been quite underwhelming. I don't know. It's just man. I'm gonna put him and keep him at locals. The very top of keep him at locals for now. I may be I may get a lot of hate comments for this, but yeah, dude, let me know if you have a good King deck, because I wanna try it. I wanna make him work, right? And maybe I'll release a video where I try to play a deck that I think is a decent King deck, but I think he'll lose to the late game of Pudding. I think he'll lose to Lucci. I don't know, guys. Is it weird? Maybe bottom of 3? Nah. We're going to keep my locals. Pudding is strong. Yeah, Pudding is cracked in certain ways, you know? Like, I saw a video on Instagram. My boy Steven, he put a reel up, like, this is like, when Pudding plays Big Mom on turn 4, like how they want you to react. This is like everyone's like saying, "Congratulations, you're so good." Like it's the funniest thing. But yeah, no, you just ramp so consistently, and you just have really good top end. What's not to like, right? And so I think it's a 1.5. I'll reorder this in a second. I don't feel like thinking about it right now, but definitely belongs to the 1.5 tier. I think we'll see this topping quite consistently. Kalgara, we'll put him at tier 3. Strong deck, but I think like it's strong. Its strength comes in the surprise factor of like, whoa, your board got flooded. Whoa, you can heal with Nolan. Like, but I think once people get used to that too, it'll be a little bit easier to deal with. I think it's just like the initial new leader cheats out a lot of bodies, but yeah, I don't see a world in which it'll like consistently win against some of the top decks, and so we'll have to put it in tier 3. Kaido, it's the mono purple Kaido. I personally don't have a deck built for this, but I want to believe that there's a deck list that exists out there that makes this leader viable. Maybe I'm wrong, but is it wrong to put him in? No, we'll keep him here. I'm going to put him at the bottom of tier 3. I want to see Kaido top 64 at least once in pre 8.5 meta, you know? And so we're going to keep him there. Starter 8 Luffy has to go into Attica Copium. This is my Copium deck. I'm with the success of starter 14 Luffy, I started to re-look into this leader again, actually. So be on the lookout. I'm gonna have a video dropping with some of the stuff that I'm trying to test with this leader, but it has to be part of my Copium because I just want to make it work one last time, you know. RP Luffy, definitely top of tier 3. I think this deck, when it gets to see what it wants to see, it's really hard to deal with, and it's just really strong. But this deck is washed by Zoro. Like this is a cakewalk for Zoro. 3 life leader, like come on, man, 3 life leader. But yeah, I think he's sitting somewhere in the top of tier 3. Maybe you can argue bottom of tier 2, but for now I'm gonna put him top of 3. RP Kid is my Copium. He's just not good yet. he's decent, but I think with set 9, the support that we get, man, that's gonna be my time to shine. That's when all that hard work playing Kid will finally pay off in 09. But you know, I'm gonna release a video for 08 because people have been asking. So I think we did get some interesting new support in 08, right? Like the Black Maria, the puddings, like there's the things I want to try with this deck. And so yeah, like with the amount of times we can just like re-ramp with some of these cards, like you can kind of theoretically use your leader ability way more often than you used to, which does matter, right? 2k for -1 Lon is not anything to be scoffed at. And so we're gonna put it at Attica Copium. Green Blue Sanji. Oh man, am I just putting too many things in tier 3? This deck, this has to be in here. This deck is not bad. There's something in this deck. You know what? We're gonna have to move some things down. Whatever. We'll just keep it like this. It feels wrong to put these decks with like things like Perona. Man, this video is getting quite long too. My bad, fam. I think there needs to exist one more tier. You know what? We're gonna add a row below. I'm gonna put tier 4 because I think these leaders kind of fall down in comparison. Yeah, this feels better to me. This feels much better to me. Who has this many tiers in a tier list this video? Like, that's crazy. I'm sorry, guys. But you know what? I got opinions, and that's what you're here to listen to. Yeah, green, blue, Sanji Zoro. This deck is hella aggressive and really consistent with the Warlords engine. Has some cool new things you can do with the Minx, and so I think there's something there. Maybe at the very end of tier 3, but I think we'll catch some decks off by surprise, right? But again, I do think you're going to struggle into things like Bonnie, into things like Lucci, which will gatekeep a lot of these decks, and so that's why we got to put him down here. Red, yellow, Sabo is the Copium deck too. Honestly, I want to put him in bottom of 4, but we'll put him in my Copium. If you guys haven't noticed, my Copium decks are like the ones that I always test every set, and I think that there could be something there, but I'm just not smart enough or good enough at this game to like either assess them to be locals or make them good, and so they're just forever sitting in my Copium until someone gives me some inspiration or some direction. Blue, yellow, ace. I'm gonna keep my locals. I think this may change with the so actually no, I don't think it will change that much, but he did get some interesting support in 08 with like some of the stuff that lets you more consistently look at your top of your deck. Like things like those draw more things have that 5-drop ace blocker ace ability where you're looking at the top 2 and then putting 2 from your hand either at the top or bottom of your deck, which does matter, right? Because then that helps you consistently set up for Ace's leader ability, but it's a lot of Dawn investment to do that. And so, I don't know. I think it's like, it's okay. Black, yellow, Luffy. I think this is going to be still another meta-defining deck. And 08. Yeah, I still think this deck's going to be really good. I think it's going to be in a meta where Lucci still exists. Black Luffy will still be played and exist, right? And so, pretty strong into a lot of these decks. I mean, it does struggle into Bonnie, but I think even Black Yellow Luffy players are finding ways to play around the Bonnie matchup. Like, we're seeing them run more Kuzans, more Finger Pistols, and everything like that. And so, I do think it's going to be a top-tier deck still. Starter 14 Luffy, 1.5 for sure. I think I put him in my previous tier list video. That I think I put him pretty up there. I don't remember, honestly, but I always thought this leader was like pretty cool. The fact that you can increase cost in a meta where everything's trying to KO based off of cost felt really cool to me. I was like, oh, like that's like naturally defensive. Plus, you can become a 6K leader, which we've seen how defensive that can be against the, as we saw in Whitebeard in the past. And so, really, really cool, fun deck. I love Black Luffy decks, and so, yeah, I think that's it. So, let's do a little bit of reordering if I need to. Yeah, I think Purple Luffy goes up. Moria. This seems pretty okay to me. Like that. Maybe Pudding goes higher. The tier 1.5s all feel very similar in strength to me. Like, these all seem like this here, these 8 decks, I'm like, oh, I think these will define the meta. And with the inclusion of maybe like the Dofi soon. And then, let's see here. This seems okay to me. This seems okay to me. Yeah, cool. So, this is it. This is my tier list. This is my first OP08 prediction tier list. Please let me know if you guys agree, disagree, if there's anything that I may have overlooked. But yeah, excited to see what this meta shapes out to. It's our first meta where we just don't arbitrarily follow the East in a lot of ways when we don't inherit this already figured out meta. And so, very excited to see what the first rounds of tournaments and results show up as. And so, with that being said, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I am doing Twitch streaming as well now, and so I'll put the link to my Twitch as well in the description below. Please consider following because I'm going to be doing a lot of cool testing, but also like things like giveaways, and I'm going to be hosting events too, and so be on the lookout for that. I'm going to be doing a box tournament soon where I'm going to be giving away a box of OP08 plus a lot of cool custom cards for prize and support. And so, yeah, let me know what you guys are also playing in the OP08 meta. I'm excited to see what other decks you guys are cooking with. And so, with that being said, Attica TCG out.